Could you tell me a little bit about the value of a home visit?
Absolutely. So, as a social worker, this is a huge part of social work practice in which we focus on the person in their environment. So, actually considering the context in which the person lives is so crucial. I'm so interested in finding out my client's narrative. Like, what's their story?
Jazz, why is someone's context important?
Because we focus on goals with the client. So as a social worker, I focus on what the goals that the client would like to achieve out of their sessions with me or the support that I provide. In establishing goals with them, there's often barriers that the clients experience that mean that they're not able to reach their goals in the time frame that they'd like, or there's just barriers for them in being able to live their best life. So some of those barriers are really evident when I do a home visit with the client. Just to give an example of a barrier that I may observe when I do a home visit could be that the client could be a young mother with, quite a number of children, and it's a really busy, chaotic household. They could live in quite a small flat, and the client doesn't have sufficient privacy or sufficient room. So housing overcrowding is one example of when I do a home visit, understanding a person from their environment also enables me to explore with the client in a non-judgmental way how their environment is either helping them achieve their goals that they've set for themselves, or how it's hindering their
Right.
goals and the purpose that they're wanting to get to in their social work sessions. Then, once I'm more familiar with the client's environment and some of those barriers from their home environment, could be their family situation, then we can actually work to try and address those barriers to try and make it, easier for them to be able to achieve those goals. So it's really about using systems theories when I'm working with a client. Instead of just looking at them as an individual, which that's obviously really important as well, it's so important to look at the client, like for using systems theory. So looking at what are the systems around the client that are either helping them or serving them or then not serving them. One example is their living situation, the community that they live in. So some clients may live in quite an affluent area with a low crime rate. So if you look at the context of the suburb that they live in, then that may not be a barrier for them to achieve their goals. But if I think about some of the other clients in a more low income area with a higher crime rate, with inaccessible public transport, then there's unique barriers in that client's geographic location that also can prevent them from achieving their goals as well and impact their quality of life.
When you go into a home visit, using a systems theory lens helps you to identify context. And I hear established goals and getting clear about what a client's goals are, and then being able to identify barriers because you look at the whole context based on systems theory.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. And why is narrative therapy important in the home visit context as well?
It's incredibly important, Shell. So, considering the client's story, understanding a client's narrative, and considering the previous experience, so their early childhood experience and any childhood adversity that they've experienced, and considering their story from early childhood through to adulthood and up to the point that they are at today when I meet with them, it's incredibly important because how we act and the issues and challenges that we face are very much dependent on our history. So, what's happened to us up until the point we are at today. And it's important about that non-judgmental approach because we all and most fellow social workers and other allied health professionals often come into the sector wanting to help people, and we all have our own history, our own adverse
Yes.
experiences that have, led us to entering this sort of helping profession. So if we can understand the importance of our own story, then we
Yeah.
can consider the importance of our client's story as well, and allowing them the space, if they're ready and able, to actually tell their story, even if it's in stages.
Yeah.
I think that's so important to just allow that opportunity for the story to be told.
Yeah. I hear how you're practicing there. You're going in to understand context using systems theory. You're then identifying goals and visions and dreams and what the client actually wants. But because you've come in looking at context and systems, you're able to identify barriers.
Yes.
And then you're using narrative therapy to be able to form the therapeutic alliance and hear someone's story in relation to their context. It's beautiful work, isn't it?
Yes, it definitely is.